Hi everyone, let's talk about a big update in China-US trade today. Trump has been waiting anxiously for a Chinese order, and it's finally here. China has resumed purchasing US soybeans, and this time, we're talking about nearly 180,000 metric tons. That's no small amount. You need to know that earlier, due to Trump's tariff policies, American soybean farmers suffered heavy losses this year. During the entire autumn harvest season, China barely bought a single grain of soybeans from the U.S. The farmers were so desperate that they kept urging Trump, telling him to be more polite and talk nicely when dealing with China, and to resolve the issues quickly. It's exactly because of this that we had the fifth round of China-U.S. trade consultations. Right after the Kuala Lumpur talks ended, the U.S. got good news. Reuters reported on October 29, citing sources, that China purchased 3 batches of U.S. soybeans this week, totaling about 180,000 metric tons. The soybeans will be loaded onto ships and shipped over from December this year to January next year. Shortly after that, Trump also eased up on tariffs. While on his plane from Japan to South Korea, he said the U.S. might lower the 20% tariff imposed on Chinese fentanyl. In fact, this 20% tariff was only just added by him at the beginning of this year. The U.S. has always been in the habit of unfairly blaming China for its own fentanyl problems, trying to cover up its own incompetence in handling the issue. This trick is pretty familiar to everyone. There are 2 simple reasons he's willing to cut tariffs this time. First, it's to implement the outcomes of the Kuala Lumpur talks. After all, during the consultations, the 2 sides discussed fentanyl tariffs and anti-narcotics cooperation, and even reached some consensus. Second, it's taking the step down offered by China. By reducing or removing the tariffs, it can avoid further worsening its own inflation pressure. Looking at this round of the tariff war between China and the U.S. is almost coming to an end. From canceling 91% of tariffs at the start, to pausing 24% of counter-tariffs later, and now even the final 20% tariff on fentanyl is about to be cut, Trump should finally understand. Tariffs don't work on China. They can't pressure us, but instead leave him in an awkward spot. It's just a losing deal. In fact, as long as the U.S. is willing to correct its mistakes, whether actively or passively, there's still a chance for China and the U.S. to keep doing business. After all, we're the 2 most important economies in the world. China has always told the U.S. that cooperation benefits both sides, and that's absolutely true. But everyone should also be clear. China's resumption of U.S. soybean purchases this time is essentially a rational choice based on commercial interests. After mid-September, the harvest of new U.S. soybeans was almost complete. Due to inventory pressure, their FOB prices were lower than Brazilian soybeans. Domestic oil mills resumed purchases for profit. It's a completely voluntary commercial move. More importantly, China has already built a diversified supply system. Even without buying U.S. soybeans, we can still ensure our supply. Brazil, Argentina, and Russia can all fill the gap, which gives us full initiative when making purchases. This kind of arrangement, not putting all your eggs in one basket, is the best response to the unpredictability of U.S. trade policies. Finally, let's take a broader view. Behind this soybean game, there's actually a change in the global trade pattern. In the past, the U.S. monopolized global soybean trade with its technology and production capacity. But Trump's tariff war broke this balance. Over 10 years, China has shifted its import sources from relying on the U.S. to a diversified network. This not only safeguards our own food security but also reshapes the rules of global agricultural trade. As for the U.S., it has not only lost the trust of China, the world's largest buyer, but also made millions of soybean farmers bear the backlash of the tariff war. When you add it all up, it's already a losing proposition.